just this. And nudge that into place, select that and the hull of the boat, and together you can tell when you're working with a group, because if you have it selected and you have the control strip at the top, you'll see on the left hand side it says group, and you can also see that additionally inside of the layers. If I go into the layer here, so now I'm going to bring these in like so. I'll bring and just nudge that in and send that to the back, and now I've got a nice group that I can that as well as a single unit. So I'll click here in the rotation field at the top, and let's make that, there we go, make it steaming in there, and the sail. I'm not sure whether I'm going to have this pointing, and then I'm going to bring the roof down here as well. I'm not entirely sure whether I'm going to have this pointing that way, or although it's overlooked by a group. Many Illustrator users, there is actually a tool to work specifically with groups in Illustrator, and it's a really useful tool to get to grips with as well, because so many things in Illustrator are actually made as groups. If you ever use the charts and graphs in Illustrator, they come in as a special kind of group. If you draw with the grid tools from the line family of tools, they come in as a special kind of group. So having this particular tool, like I've said, is really worth it. It's called the group selection tool on your keyboard. To get to the direct selection tool, you can go ahead and long press on that in the toolbox, and you can see the selection tool. Now there is waves like the group selection tool, but that involves you holding. Choose the group selection tool, and just to refresh your memory, if you were here with the last movie, or to introduce, I've got which another group that boat in the layers panel, and you can see that I've named all of, or most of, at least these groups. So you can see all of the individual items groups to do that. So if I go ahead now and click on the roof here, you can see that I changed my mind and the boat group. If I go roof, okay, so I'll just click bin group. If I click once more, then so it is there. And isolation mode is work with groups, and I'm sure I'm not alone in the fact that I use this all the time on the groups. And I'm going to double click on it, play a boat, and I'm actually in the group boat things. There's another group here on the cabin group, and now move that, double click through that back cabin, some sort of key to remove the stroke because that was in front. Just going to tap M here, okay, and I'll just put a little pipe along there like so. Okay, and I'll just change the appearance of that. I'm going to tap D to start off with, so it's got a white fill and a black stroke. And I'm going to hit the slash key to remove the stroke because that was in front. Hold down Shift and tap X to transpose the fill and stroke. There you go, you can see that. Let's choose a different to the back. Okay, so with my selection back, I need to make it arrange send to back. Okay, just double click out pause. Other really useful feature when you're working with groups. In this movie, we're going to take a look at Illustrator's specific transformation tools, and we're going to start, strangely enough, with the selection tool, which has the ability to make a transformation. I wonder if you can guess what it is when I select this plane and go up and double click on the selection tool. you can see that it's to actually move. So if you want to move something by a specific distance, this is exactly where you can do it. So for example, and I do this by the way, if I want to get something out of the way while I'm working in a similar area, I could tap 0 here, no movement horizontally. Okay, vertically, I want it to move by, let's say it does that already. Now, to go upwards, you have to enter a negative value. So if I do negative 100, you can see it now goes upwards. You could always set a distance as well, a specific distance if you want. And you could also copy. Now that's something else I want you to, and rather than clicking copy, if you want to copy, because okay, you know you can hit return for that tool, you can see that you're going to start make a transformation on the selection tool. You can see that it's to actually move. So if you want to move something by a specific distance, okay, vertically, now to go upwards, you have to enter a negative value. So if I do also copy, now that's something else I want you to see because it's common to all of the specific transformation tools. And rather than clicking copy, if you want to copy, because okay, you know you can hit return for that, I'm sure you do. But rather than clicking copy, all you need to do is add in the Alt or Option key and then hit return. And you can make a copy like that, and it's worth bearing that in mind. Okay, I'm going to delete my copy just here, and I'm going to go, first of all, to the Scale tool. So I'll tap S on my keyboard. To get the Scale tool, and I'm actually going to long press on that in the toolbox, okay, and bring that out like the motion point, which is set by default to the center. Just going to undo that, hold down Shift and do that movements with the cursor like so. Then you can see I'm scaling, it's uniform. Enter your values numerically, okay, and you can set other things like corner scaling and strokes and effects as well. So that's worth keeping in mind. I'll just cancel animation tools time. So if I go to the base of this flagpole, just hit that. Because also you can set that point and call for the dialogue at the same time. So if I go to the base of this flagpole just here, hopefully you can see that. Okay, I'm going to hold down the Alt or Option key and gets the transformation point and also allows me to work inside the dialogue. And you can see as I scale, it's scaling down to that flagpole like so. There you go. I'll just hit escape to cancel out of that. Shearing is where it bends to an angle. So if I go again and hit the return key just here, now it's not the right art for this, I think, really, but there you go. I could go ahead and do vertical here. So there you are, it's kind of going into a roll there. I did manage to get it to work once where I thought out of that. Then I'm going to tap R on my keyboard. I'll get rid of those tools, which gets me the rotate to get that tool. And as you would expect, it allows you to rotate. And also, as you would expect, if you Option click or hit return, okay, the only difference with the Option click or Alt, okay, to get that tool. And as you would expect, it allows you to rotate. And also, as you would expect, if you Option click or hit return, tool, and again, I will long on here. So there you go. So it gets me that tool. And as you would expect, Option click or hit return. The difference with the dialogue and set the transformation point. You can move that around a point like so. Finally, here for the specific transformations, I'm just going to undo that, is the half of stuff that you've drawn, extreme edge of that, and then use the dialogue to create a reflected copy and join those together. So that's a good strategy in Illustrator. If you can, just draw half of the object. Again, I'm going to hold down the Option key once I've selected it. And by the way, O is the shortcut for that. Think about it. O's got several lines of symmetry. Just here, I'm going to go click. Okay, I'm going to do this vertically. I'm then going to Option return. Now you might think, well, nothing's happened. Well, it has, because if I zoom out, I've now got a reflected copy. And if we take a quick look at the pilot's scarf just here, there it is. So it is in. Indeed, a reflection, and those are the specific transformation tools in Illustrator. Let's take a look at the free transform tool in Illustrator. To use it, I'll have to have something selected, then I'm going to tap E to get to it. That's its shortcut just there. And it also launches with this HUD just here. Now, by default, it's set to free transform, so basically you can go ahead and just pull things around like so. I'll just undo that. But you've got this lock icon as well, which means you don't have to hold down the shift key. You can just go ahead and scale that to your heart's content with just one hand, which is, we've also got a perspective Dutch barn just now. So, of course, if I went through the sides, then that, in fact, allows us to down, but temporarily corner. I'm still in free distort mode, and I'll just go and click OK. But that's the very idea. Anyway, you front using my shortcut there. There you are. That's the free transform tool. here in Illustrator. The transform again command allows you to repeat the last used cluster if you can. What I'm going to do here is I'm going to grab hold of my aircraft degrees there just by using the corner handles of the bounding box and holding down Shift. I'm then going to go ahead and hold down the Option key, okay, and drag like so. I'm then going to hold down Shift, okay, just to drag another aircraft like that. So that is the transformation that I've used. If I now use the transform again shortcut, which is Command D, it repeats that particular transformation. Then going to go ahead and hold the Option key, okay, and drag another aircraft like that. So that is the transform again shortcut, which is Command D or Control D. You can see it repeats that back with my plane where it was to start off with. And I'm going to tap R to get the Option click. And what I'm going to do is in a circle, so divided by 6, but it's just a short field. Then click, hold down Option and hit Return. Control D is flying in, and that's where it lives if you don't want to use the tool menu. So that's where it lives if you don't want to use the shortcut. One of my favorite shortcuts inside of Illustrator is Shift Option Command Windows with Command. That would be Shift Alt Control on Windows with D added in. So Shift Option Command D, Shift Alt Control D, because that is the transform each command. So planes just here, they're very good pilots. That's super good, and they're very close as well. From each command, I'm going to select all of my little squadron of yellow good, and transform each is just here. So now I'm going to try and move this as far as I can over to the right hand side to work with it, and make sure preview is turned on. And just going back up just a little bit, you can see there is actually a registration point here, which at the moment is set to the center, but you can change scale. So what I'm going to do is just hold down Shift, I've clicked in this field, and tap my down arrow 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 times. Hold down Shift and go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, so they're all at 50% too. Okay, you might have to click away and click on that, or doesn't want to play machine. You can also move things there. I see that, okay, it's working perfectly well. There you are. Bizarre. I told you. Okay, so I can do that. Like so. Now they all appear to be okay, or transformation. Not doing much, but you actually can. But there you are. That's the trend just at the moment. But you get the idea. It is handy, and if you want to introduce some randomization, then trust me, you actually can. But there you are. That's the transform each. Transforms can also be applied. It isn't as fully scoped, let's use that word, as the specific transform tools, and I'll show you how that is. So I'm going to select my plane just here. I'm going to go up to the effects menu. You could also, by the way, choose distort and transform, transform, show you how that is. So I'm going to select my plane just here. I'm going to go up to the effects. It isn't as fully scoped, let's use that word. It gives you a little bit of flexibility. However, it isn't as an effect to your Illustrator artwork, and that gives you a little bit. Transforms can also be applied as an effect to your Illustrator artwork, and that gives you a little bit of flexibility. However, it isn't as fully scoped, let's use that word, as the specific transform tools, and I'll show you how that is. So I'm going to select my plane, just this from the FX icon here in the appearance section of the properties panel. Choose distort and transform, transform, okay, and this will look very, very similar to the feature that you just saw in transform each, because it is quite similar. The downside is there's no way for you to set the registration point on the artboard, no coordinates there that you can actually go to. On scaling, we can do the move here and on top of the one that's already there. So I'm going to set the registration, can do that. But anyway, we can still do all of the scaling. We can do the move here and we can do the rotation. What is interesting is we can do copies. So if I go ahead and make 2 copies here, and at the moment they are directly on top of the one that's already there. So I'm going to set the registration to the -10 in terms of at bottom of the grid of 9 here. Horizontally, actually let's go the other way. Let's go to the right, just here like so. Tab through to the vertical field. Negative numbers, remember, take you up. If I add more copies, they will continue, and hit OK. You can see transform here in the properties panel. If you click on it, go straight back into the dialog. Okay, and then you can affect your changes from there. So I've just brought that to like that. You're going to love the chapter on appearances. So when you get there, bear in mind that you've already seen one of those in use. Drawing by construction is one of the